The thing about Zara Okonkwo was that she had absolutely no survival instinct. Her mother had said it at her going-away party in Lagos. That girl will walk into a burning building to tell someone their shoelace is untied. Everyone laughed. Zara laughed too. She thought about that now, standing in a Seoul alley at 11 p.m., her pepper spray in one hand and her broken neighbor maps in the other, watching three very large men corner one very calm one. The calm one was the problem. Most people being robbed looked scared. This one looked bored. Like he was waiting for a bus that was running late. Zara should have kept walking, but she stopped. Yeah. All four men turned. Zara had approximately 1 second to commit to whatever this was. She lifted the pepper spray. Back up, she said in the most authoritative voice she had. The three large men looked at each other. Then they looked at her. This 5 feet 4 inches girl in an oversized hoodie holding pepper spray like it was a weapon of mass destruction. One of them almost smiled. That was a mistake. The spray went directly into his face. She stomped the second one's foot hard, heel first, the way she had seen in movies, and grabbed the calm man's wrist. Run, she said. He didn't run. I said run. I heard you. His voice was low and completely unbothered. Up close he was distractingly good-looking, which was irrelevant, because the two men were now turning toward them with expressions that isn't anywhere good. Zara grabbed his collar tighter and ran for both of them. 3 blocks. 2 turns. 1 flight of stairs into the 24-hour convenience store on the main Hongdae strip where a teenage cashier was watching a drama on his phone, and did not look up once. Zara bent over, hands on knees, breathing hard. The man beside her was not breathing hard at all. She looked up at him. He looked down at her. The expression on his face was one she had never seen before on someone who had just been rescued. You're welcome, she said. I didn't say thank you. You were about to. Something moved across his face. He almost smiled then stopped. I'm Kang Jisoo, he said. Zara. She straightened up, caught her breath. Are you hurt? No. Good. She looked at her phone. Naver Maps had relocated her to somewhere in Mapo. Do you know how to get to Sinchon Station from here? He stared at her. That's it. What? You're just going to Sinchon Station. I live near Sinchon Station. She looked up at him. Did you need something else? You seem fine. He opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. Zara found the station on her map, nodded once and walked out. He stood at the convenience store window and watched the door she'd gone through for a long time. Behind him his phone rang. He picked up without looking at the screen. Boss. The car is outside. Are you okay? Pull the CCTV from the alley. The last 20 minutes. A pause. All of it. The girl. He watched the street, which was empty now. Find out who she is. At an apartment in Sinchon. And then I just left, Zara said, stabbing her ramen. Because he was fine. He was just standing there completely unbothered in an alley at 11 p.m. It was the most annoying thing I've ever seen. She straightened her spine. Camille, who was Zara's roommate and only friend in Seoul so far, was watching her over a cup of tea with the expression of someone watching a very entertaining film. Was he attractive? That is not the point. The point is I was lost for 40 more minutes after that and my feet still hurt, she said. Camille smiled into her tea. The attractive man in the alley. Stop. Zara cooed. What was his name? Zara paused slightly too long. Kang Jisoo. Camille's smile widened. She said nothing. She didn't need to. Across Seoul, in a building in Gangnam that had no visible signage and a lobby that felt like the inside of a decision, Kang Jisoo stood in front of a screen. Zara Okonkwo. 21. Yonsei University Exchange Program. Furumidi. Lagos, Nigeria. She's a student, Min-hyuk said. Min-hyuk was Jisoo's right hand. Precise, loyal and currently working very hard to keep his face neutral. I can read. A pre-med student from Lagos. No record. No connections. No known associations with anyone in our world or any competing world. Who showed up in that specific alley at that specific time. It might be nothing. Find the coincidence. Jisoo turned from the screen. Where does she work? Min-hyuk checked the file. Part-time. A cafe in Sinchon. Cafe Bora on the main strip. Jisoo picked up his jacket. Min-hyuk watched him. You're going to a cafe in Sinchon. I need coffee. You have a coffee machine that costs more than most people's cars. I need different coffee. He was already at the door. Find me the coincidence, Hyuk. Min-hyuk stood alone in the room with the screen still showing Zara's university ID photo. Big eyes, slight frown, like she'd had somewhere more important to be. He looked at it for a moment. This is going to be a problem, he said to no one. Cafe Bora on a Saturday was controlled chaos. Orders stacked up. The milk steamer screaming. Tables filling faster than they emptied. Zara moved through it fast, focused completely in her own frequency. She was clearing table 4 when she looked up and stopped. He was standing at the entrance in a coat that cost more than her monthly stipend, looking at the menu board with the expression of a man who had never once in his life needed to check a price. She stared. He looked down from the board and found her eyes immediately, like he'd known exactly where she was. Zara recovered first, walked over, pulled out her notepad. "Hey, it's you again." She said it with a smile because she was at work and also because it was genuinely funny. "Don't act too familiar. I saved your life. You sprayed someone and ran." "I saved your life," she repeated pleasantly. "What can I get you?" He looked at the menu once more. "Bring me your most expensive item." He looked back at her. "And come sit with me. I'm working. I can see that. So I can't sit with customers." He looked around the cafe slowly. At the other tables. At the counter. At the door to the back where her manager's office was. "Is your boss here?" "Yes, which is why I shouldn't sit. Perhaps I should buy the cafe." Zara laughed out loud. Genuine, no warning. "You're so funny." "I'm not joking." She looked at him. He looked back. He wasn't joking. "That's insane," she muttered. She was still smiling when the back door opened and Mr. Shin stepped out, the kind of man who found reasons to yell at others. He opened his mouth to call her back to the counter. Then he saw who was sitting at table 7. The color left his face so fast Zara almost looked around to find where it went. Mr. Shin stood very still for a moment. Jisoo looked at him. Not threateningly. Not with any particular expression at all. He simply looked. Mr. Shin looked at Zara. Then back at Jisoo. Then he said, loud enough for the whole cafe to hear, in a voice that had lost all its authority. She won't sit with you because of me. I'll handle it. Everybody." He turned to the 2 other staff behind the counter. "Handle everything. All of it." And then Mr. Shin walked out in a way that looked like he ran. The cafe went quiet. Zara stared at the door, looked at Jisoo and sat down. "What did you do?" she said quietly. "Nothing." He looked like he saw a ghost. "Some people recognize faces," he said simply. "It's not something I do." She studied him, the stillness, the way the entire room had shifted its energy when he walked in, and she'd been too busy to notice until now. "Who are you?" "I told you. I'm Kang Jisoo." She leaned back, crossed her arms. "You're not going to tell me?" "Not today, because today I just want coffee." He looked at her across the table. "And to sit here with you." The cafe noise came back around them, slow and warm. Someone's order was called. The milk steamer screamed again in the distance. And Zara Okonkwo, who had survived 3 weeks in a city that didn't care about her, got up and made him the most expensive thing on the menu herself. She brought 2 cups. He noticed but didn't say anything. They sat for 40 minutes. He asked her questions, not personal ones, not probing ones, small ones. What she thought of the city. What she missed. What surprised her. He listened to every answer with the full, unhurried attention of someone who had nowhere else to be, which she suspected was not true, and which made it more notable. When his phone buzzed for the 3rd time, he finally looked at it. Something in his face changed. Not much, just a tightening around the jaw. He stood, reached into his jacket, and placed a small white card face down on the table. "Call me tonight," he said. Zara looked at the card. Then up at him. "I'm still at work." "Tonight." He buttoned his coat. "Whenever tonight is for you." He walked out. The door closed behind him. Through the window she watched the black car that appeared from nowhere, the way the street arranged itself around his exit without him having to do anything. She turned the card over. Just a number. No name. That night she did not call. He checked his phone. Once at 10 p.m. Once at midnight. Put it face down both times and went to bed. At 7:04 a.m. his phone rang. "You said call tonight," Zara said when he picked up. Her voice was bright and completely awake, the voice of someone who had been up for a while. "Tonight ended. This is morning. Technically I'm late, but I'm not wrong." Kang Jisoo stood in his kitchen in Hanamdong in the specific quiet of early morning, and for the first time in a long time, he almost smiled before he could stop it. "You could have called at 11 p.m., he said. "I was busy." "Doing what?" "Deciding whether to call." Silence. "And," he said. "I called," she said simply. "Didn't I?" "I'll see you on Tuesday," he said and hung up. He came back to the cafe on Tuesday. Different table. Same coat. He ordered without looking at the menu and watched her work with a specific quality of attention that other customers didn't give her. Not intrusive, just thorough. Like everything she did was worth noting. She brought his order, set it down, and said, "You're doing it again." "Doing what?" "You're acting like you want to figure me out." He wrapped both hands around the cup. Said nothing. "You can just ask," she said. "I'm not complicated." "Be with me for 1 week," he said without blinking. "What?" "I want to show you Seoul properly." She raised an eyebrow. "Why? You've been here a month. You know 7 locations. How do you know how that?" She stopped. Looked at him. "You've been counting my locations?" "I've been paying attention." 1 week, he said. "Let me show you the city. After that, if you want me to disappear, I disappear." "If you're boring, I'm leaving," she said. "We'll see about that," he said, with what looked like a small smile. The first evening he took her to a rooftop in Yeoljiro that had no sign and no visible entrance, and somehow a pojangmaka tent on top of it with plastic chairs, and the whole of Seoul spread below like someone had tipped a box of lights over the horizon. She ate tteokbokki and he drank beer, and she asked him what each cluster of light was, and he told her. Like it was natural to explain the city to someone who was learning to love it. Wednesday it rained. Not the polite Seoul drizzle she'd gotten used to. A full, committed downpour that arrived in the middle of a walk through Bukshin with no warning. They ran. There was a Norbang 3 doors down with its lights on, and she pulled him in by instinct. She sang 3 Burna Boy songs with total commitment. Stopped, looked at him and said, "It's your turn to sing. Don't make me do that." "Kang Jisoo," she said with a stern voice. He sang. For lines of something old and slow, she didn't know lines in a small rain-soaked room in Bukshin. She didn't know the song, and it didn't matter. It sat in her chest somewhere and stayed there. She didn't comment. He didn't ask her to. Walking back in the after-rain cool, she said, "I feel like you're different when it's just us. More like I don't know who you actually are." "How?" "I knew you'll try acting like you don't know what I'm talking about." She glanced at him. "It's fine, take your time." He was quiet. "I'm just saying what I feel," she said. "I'm not asking for anything." He looked at her for a moment. "Most people run away from me by now." "I'm not most people." She shrugged. He laughed genuinely, caught off guard laughter that seemed to surprise him more than it surprised her. She felt it land somewhere important and kept walking. That night from his car he called Min Hyuk. "The address. Check it again. Every angle. I want to be certain. I already confirmed. Check it again." Min Hyuk paused. "Jisoo. If you already know she's clean. Check it again, Hyuk." He hung up. Looked out at the Han River running dark alongside the expressway. He already knew she was clean. He was checking again because once it was confirmed officially, the investigation was over. And he was not ready for the investigation to be over. Across Seoul in a Mapo office with the blinds permanently shut, a man named Park Sung-woo was looking at photographs. Jisoo at the rooftop. Jisoo and the girl outside the Norbang. The same girl 2 days earlier, outside Cafe Bora in Sinchon. Park Sung-woo ran operations for the Lee Syndicate, smaller than the Kangs, considerably hungrier, and currently blocked from a development deal in Uedo that Kang Jisoo was sitting on like a man who had all the time in the world. He tapped the photograph of Zara. "Who is she?" he asked. "Exchange student. Nigerian. No affiliations." His assistant answered. "She has one affiliation now." He leaned back. "Find everything. I want her full profile by Thursday." Zara noticed the new faces on Wednesday. She had not meant to learn Jisoo's security detail. She's always paid attention to her environment since childhood. She texted him from the cafe back room during her break. "There are 2 strange-looking men outside." His reply came in under a minute. 3 seconds later, "Go to your next class. Don't use the side exit." She sent back. "What's going on?" But got no response. She used the side exit. Nothing happened. The men were gone by the time she came out. That evening he was outside her building when she got back. She walked up to him and stopped at arm's length with her arms crossed, which he had already learned meant she was managing something. "You didn't explain," she said. "I said don't use the side exit. And I said explain first." She looked at him steadily. "I'm not one of your people, Jisoo. You don't get to direct me without a reason." His jaw shifted slightly. "There are people watching you. They're not connected to me in a way that's good. I'm handling it." "Why are people watching me?" "Because of me," he said truthfully. "Why because of you?" The long pause. The careful look. The thing she was beginning to recognize as him measuring what he could give her against what he needed to keep. "I can't answer that right now." "You can't or you won't?" she asked. "Both," he replied. She breathed in slowly. Am I in danger? Not if you listen to me. Give me a yes or a no. Yes, he said. The honest answer surprised her more than a reassurance would have. She looked at him for a long moment. You owe me a real conversation, she said. I know. Good. I'll like to leave if you don't mind, she said and immediately went inside before he could say another word. He stood on the street until the lights in the third-floor window came on. Then he called Min-hyuk. Move the perimeter tighter. And find out how deep Sung-woo's interest in her goes. Min-hyuk. How did she know what's going on? Jisoo looked up at the lit window. She pays attention, he said. Few hours later, Min-hyuk called at 1 a.m. The Lee crew has 2 people inside her building complex. Sung-woo is escalating faster than we thought. She can't stay there tonight. Jisoo was in the car before the call ended. Zara opened her dorm door in a sleep shirt holding a half-eaten bag of honey butter chips with the expression of someone who had decided to be very patient but was running a deficit. Is your roommate home? Was the first thing he asked. No. Good, pack a bag, he said. Jisoo, what's going on? It's just for one night. Maybe 2. I will explain everything when you're somewhere safe. I'm not going anywhere, she said adamantly. He held her eyes. Please, Zara. She had not heard him say please before. It was not a word that sat easily in his mouth. She packed a bag. The safe house was in Hanamdong, a residential building that looked like every other residential building from the outside and felt, inside, like somewhere a person actually lived. Bookshelves. A half-played chess set. A window that looked over the dark curve of the Han River. The bridge lights strung across it like something deliberate. You live here, she said. Sometimes. He set her bag down. When I need quiet. She looked around. At the chess set, the book left face down on the side table, the small accumulated evidence of a person who had a private self that his public world didn't know about. The room's through there, he said. I'll be out here. It's your apartment. You're the guest. She took the bedroom. 3 a.m. She came out for water and found him at the window. Not on his phone. Not doing anything. Just watching the river the way she imagined he watched most things. Completely quietly without needing it to give him anything back. She got her water. Leaned against the kitchen counter. You don't sleep, she said. Not much. Ever or lately? Lately I have a lot on my desk. She crossed to the couch and sat. Not next to him. Just in the same room in the same quiet. Tell me something true, she said. Not about the danger or the men. Just something true. He was quiet for long enough that she thought he'd let it pass. I wanted to study architecture, he said finally. Build things. Design things that stayed. He didn't look away from the window. I was 17 when I stopped wanting that. It took about a week. What happened in the week? My father showed me what the alternative looked like. She understood what that meant without needing it unpacked. Your turn, he said. I'm homesick every single day. Her voice was even. I don't say it because I chose to come, and I'm not going to be the person who chose something and then complains about it. But every day. Since the airport. What do you miss most? I hate to admit it, but it's the noise. Lagos is so loud. Everyone in your business. Here is so quiet. She looked at the window. At the city, then at him. How did you get so used to noise? He chuckled. I grew up in it. She said. I used to hate it. Now it's the only thing that lets me think. Maybe that's the problem. He looked at her. Too much thinking, she said. He was quiet. But not the careful, closed quiet, something more open in it. She stood and crossed the room and hugged him. I know you're not exactly a nice guy, but I'll always be here for you, she muttered against him, and he froze. He was about saying something when his phone rang. It was the chairman, his father's friend who had helped him rebuild his late father's dying mafia. I have to go now, he said quickly. I have a meeting with the Don. I'll be back. Stay right here, he said and left in a hurry. The chairman's office was on the 34th floor of a Gangnam building with no signage and a lobby where serious things were decided, and then never discussed again. The chairman looked at Jisoo. Like he was reading a balance sheet and checking for anomalies. You said she came back with you voluntarily? Yes. The Lee crew is using her because you gave them something to use. I know. You shouldn't have any weaknesses, son. I know. Jisoo said nothing. I give you 8 days to sort her out. The chairman folded his hands. Then we discuss the Kingston arrangement between you and the Kingstons. You should marry their first daughter. It'll strengthen your mafia. Jisoo looked at him without a word, then stood. Jisoo. The old man's voice called out. You know this is for the best, the chairman said. I'll be back by next week, Jisoo said. He walked out. The elevator doors closed. In the mirrored panel he looked at his own face, exactly what his father had spent years building, and felt for the first time in a long time that it did not fit. The car was waiting. He got in and the driver drove him. Jisoo went back to her with the clock running and decided that for 8 days to ignore it. The next morning they moved through Seoul like two adventurous kids. She dragged him to the Gwangjang market at lunch and made him eat bindyatik under an open shed, like a normal person. She sat in on his chess game one evening, and he taught her how to play chess. He tucked her in at night and made sure she had her meals on time. One sunny afternoon, Min Hyuk came with the new file. She was outside a Hongdae coffee shop talking to a man. The angle looked deliberate. The man was a Lee Syndicate errand runner named Cho Min. Jisoo looked at the photograph for a long time. Details, he asked. We don't have it yet. Get it? Don't bring me a photograph and call it evidence. The chairman's deadline is in 6 days. I know when the deadline is. After Min Hyuk left, Jisoo sat in the quiet. The apartment felt warm with her in it. Warmer. He opened the file again. Looked at the photograph. She was smiling. He frowned and put it away. Min Hyuk came back in 2 days, no details but more photographs. Jisoo picked up his keys. He knew where she was. She was in the Yonsei library, 3 textbooks open. She looked up when he sat down and something in his face made her put the highlighter down before he said a word. What happened? He put his phone on the table. The photograph face up. She looked at it, picked it up and looked closer. What's this? You tell me. Silence. I don't know who this man is. He stopped me outside the coffee shop on Hongdae and asked for directions to Hapjeong Station. His Korean wasn't strong and my Korean isn't perfect. Hapjeong is not a simple station to explain. You spoke for 4 minutes. Have you been stalking me? She asked, setting the phone down. Yes, because some people are out to use you against me and this man here is connected to them, he said. And you think She stopped. Looked at him with an expression that was going somewhere very clear. Ask the question. Directly. Don't be like that. Ask it, Jisoo. You're not connected to the Lee Syndicate, right? The library was very still. She stood up. Started packing her bag. I've never worked for anyone except a pediatric clinic in Victoria Island where I filed patient records for 3,000 naira an hour. I don't know what a Lee Syndicate is. I was in an alley on the wrong night and I helped someone because that is who I am. She zipped the bag. I'm not one of your problems, Jisoo. She looked at him unflinching. I am a person. She picked up the bag and walked out. He sat at the empty table. Her highlighted note still spread in front of him. He looked at the photograph. He turned the phone face down. I think I messed up, he said, to no one but himself.